morning. Thank you all for being here today. My name is Rob Barron, and I'm the CEO of Marcal Paper. 1 year ago, as we all gathered here and saw the damage from the 10-alarm fire that struck our mill, Governor Murphy said, "This is a state, this is a county, this is a community with an extraordinary spirit. This is a company with an extraordinary spirit. And I have every confidence that the company, the town, the county, and the state will prove that again." Well, Governor, you were right. As I thought about today, I reflected on 4 periods in time, and that helped me frame just a few comments before I introduce our guests. The first period was 87 years ago from last January 30th. This company was a symbol of manufacturing excellence, of caring about your neighbor, of a family of immigrants that dreamed and then made that dream come true, of a place where you could have a good job and support your family from generation to generation. This mill was home for literally thousands of people over those years. The second period I thought about was the night of the fire. Those of us that were here that night will never forget it. We lost a lot. Hundreds of jobs that we'd saved for years, 21 tissue converting lines, over 400,000 square feet of manufacturing space, and of course, our iconic Marcal sign on the top of the building. But we should all be grateful for what was saved that night. Thanks to the hundreds of first responders who risked their lives in unthinkable cold and wind, and thanks to the Marcal team members who had trained and prepared for such an event over and over while nobody was watching. Not one person was killed that night. Not one person was even injured that night. I'd like to take a moment for all of us to say thank you and to acknowledge those efforts now. The third period I thought about were the days, weeks, and months after the fire. It would be impossible to adequately thank everyone for all that you did to get us here today, but I would like to mention just a few. Our federal, county, state, and local officials. Many of them are here in the audience today, including Senator Poe, Assemblywoman Sumter, Assemblyman Wimberly, County Executive Tedesco, Labor Commissioner Angelo, and our City Council. Along with the leaders behind me, you helped arrange job fairs for our displaced workers. You are our champions in Trenton, and you have helped us get this site ready for restarting operations. Our partners at the United Steelworkers, whose support for us has been unwavering. Our hospital, St. Joseph's, led by CEO Kevin Slavin. You gave us shelter after the fire when we had literally no place to go, so that we could even imagine a future for this company. And of course, our dedicated Marcal associates. You never quit. Many of you said you don't want another job someplace else. You want to help us recover so that you could get your old job back. The fourth period of time I thought about was, of course, the future. We know there are a lot of questions about what happens next. What will we do with the rest of the site? Are we going to rebuild the buildings? Are we going to replace everything that's lost? How many jobs are coming back? We don't have all those answers yet. But today we begin that journey to restore an iconic brand, to win back our customer base, and to hire as many talented people as we can support. We are returning to full-time paper-making operations with this one machine behind us. It is a start. Many have understandably assumed that the fire would be the end of the Marcal story. That was never our mindset. We believed that there was and is another amazing chapter yet to be written. And that chapter starts today. Marcal Paper is officially back in business.
All right.
Thank you very much. Let me recognize our governor and great friend of Marcal, Governor Phil Murphy.
Thanks, man. I can't believe it's been 1 year. Unbelievable. I just said to Rob, I can't believe it's been 1 year. Thank you, sir. Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Rob, for bringing us all together to mark this remarkable day. To all the dignitaries, elected officials, brothers and sisters in labor, workers, first responders, VIPs, honored to be with you. I can't emphasize this enough. What a difference a year makes. My Lord, 1 year ago today, I toured what remained of the historic Marcal factory only hours after that devastating fire brought it and the equally historic red Marcal sign down to the ground. I remember walking through the site with at least a minimum, this guy to my left, Congressman Bill Pascrell, and the guy in front of me, Bergen County Executive Jim Tedesco, the freeholders, always good to be with you, and others who are here today. And I don't think any of us on that tour could have imagined that literally 1 year later, we would not only be celebrating the restart of Marcal's operations here in Elmwood Park, but that there'd even be a place ready for manufacturing to restart. Marcal's story is one of commitment, a commitment to its employees and a commitment to this state and this community, in this county, which has been its home for 80 years. Marcal refers to itself as New Jersey's one and only recycled tissue manufacturer. I think we should reflect upon that for just a second. To recycle something means you don't discard it, but rather you give it a second life. If you look around, how fitting is that, particularly today? As they say, it takes a village. I'm extraordinarily proud of the helping hands our administration extended to Marcal and its employees throughout the past year. We certainly weren't alone, but Rob, we were at the table with you. And under the leadership of another Rob, second row, seat 2A, Labor Commissioner Rob Acero-Angelo, and alongside Congressman Pascrell's office, we came together in partnership to immediately and directly help hundreds of employees file for unemployment assistance. Rob's team, Rob Angelo's team, coordinated with colleagues across state government to secure help for displaced workers to pay for heating and housing, or just to ensure that their families could put food on their tables. We assisted, I think, in 2 job fairs that drew more than 100 local employers. That was then, and this is now. Today, against all odds, manufacturing is back in Elmwood Park. Jobs are coming back to Marcal. I must extend both congratulations and gratitude to everyone sitting up here with me and so many more of you sitting out there today for the roles that you played in making today possible. Whether it be in Rob Barron's work in securing the business lines needed to ensure the viability of this plant, or the work of another dear friend to his right, Del Vitale, and the Steelworkers and everyone else in the building trades who helped get this facility ready to open. To Mayor Bob Calitti and Administrator and Police Chief Mike Foligno, allow me to say this: the red lights spelling Marcal may not be visible from Route 80, but we know that Elmwood Park's community pride is shining bright here today. And to Peter Marcalis, 3 to the right, I can only imagine the pride you must feel in knowing the legacy of your grandfather, built here 80 years ago, isn't lost to fire or to time. Again, to Rob Barron and your entire crew here at Marcal Paper, congratulations. We wish you nothing but the best as you restart operations, and we look forward to following this new chapter in the history of one of New Jersey's truly iconic companies. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor. Let me call up now a longtime friend to the Marcalis family and and someone that's been a great representative for us, Congressman Bill Pascrell.
Yeah.
Peter, it wasn't too long ago where we had some problems here, and we got together. Dad was very, very concerned. In fact, he was such an icon himself, Bob Marcal, that he got me to fly back from Washington. I says, but I have to boats in the morning tomorrow. He says, please fly back tonight. Your father was my close friend. This is more than a composite of buildings. This is a reflection of what America is all about. The unions, steelworkers, and all those other unions, organized. And Rob, you've done such a fantastic job here that it's not only going to be replicated, it's going to be better. Any way that we're going to help, I know the governor means it, the mayor and the council of this town means it, freeholders mean it, our senator, our assembly people mean it, I mean it. This is not a bumper sticker effort. This is a real thing, not only to put people back to work, to revive the spirit. The spirit of America is here and alive in Elmwood Park. So your dad is listening. And when we work together, we can do anything. We can do anything. The people that have worked here have gone on. Some to the elephant grounds. Put their love into this building, met people that they never would have met before. So we salute the working people of this country here today. We salute Rob and those like him who never, ever give up. We are thankful for a governor who understands and appreciates what this whole thing is about, the whole gestalt. This is it. Here in this room is America, our past, and like that movie said, the great expectations that we have for the future. God bless you all this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman. Let me now recognize our esteemed mayor, Robert Coletti.
Well, I think everything that needed to be said has been said. I will be brief with my comments, and I'm sure our police chief will go into the details of that night and so on. But it's exciting. It's exciting to be here. It's exciting to see from the governor's office down to the local government the care and understanding of how important Marcal is to the economy of not only Elmwood Park, but the surrounding area. And it's exciting to see that Marcal is not only going to stay here, they're going to rebuild. Another company might have said, well, you know, this was a heck of a night, a lot of damage, a lot of collateral damage. Maybe we should pack up our, in a 60s term, bongos and go someplace else to greener pastures. They chose not to, and that's to say that is extraordinary and appreciated. And Mr. Marcal, just so you know, my father worked for your father many, many years ago. And it's exciting to stand here and say that the representatives from Elmwood Park do appreciate the fact that what's going to transpire here in the next year or so, what it's going to do to ourselves, our economy, and the surrounding economy. We're thankful that there was no injuries, as it was said before. Most important, We talk about our fire department, the surrounding fire departments, our police chief, and the police department and the ambulance corps, no casualties, and for that, and I can speak for the mayor and the council, we are eternally grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to now introduce our longtime partner at the USW, Del Vitale.
Good morning. I'm the director for District 4 of the United Steelworkers Union. District 4 consists of the 9 northeastern states and Puerto Rico, which includes New Jersey and, of course, Marcal, and what were the nearly 400 members of Steelworkers Local 870 before the fire. I'd like to begin, although they've been thanked, they deserve many thanks. The first responders, the police, the firefighters, who put their lives on the line battling the fire and keeping people safe a year ago, as well as the local union and management personnel inside who made sure everyone got out safely. As tragic as the fire was, it could have been far worse. I remember a year ago when I first started getting texts telling me that Marcal was on fire, my first thoughts were to the members and their safety. And then seeing how terrible the fire was on those TV videos made me fear the worst. It's an absolute miracle that no one lost their life, and for that we thank God. I'd also like to thank Governor Murphy, Labor Commissioner Osaro Angelo, and everyone at the Department of Labor and Workforce Development for the resources that were brought to bear after the fire in the form of the job fairs, employment assistance, and other services for the hundreds of workers who suddenly found themselves without jobs. Thank you. This is very special for me here today. I've lived my whole life in New Jersey. I grew up across the river in Clifton, and I remember as a child playing in Nash Park, and I could see the Marcal factory across the river and that famous sign. Then as an adult, I would drive past it on Route 80. It's just always been there. Anyone from this area knows what I mean. I see the heads nodding. Thank you. It's just hard to believe it's not there anymore. But it wasn't until 2005 that I really learned what was behind that sign, because that's when I was assigned to be the representative for the Steelworkers Local 870 here at Marcal. And that's when I came to know the people who worked here. I learned then that that sign was a symbol, but that the heart of Marcal was the people inside, union and management alike. During that time, I learned that for many people, this was the only place they ever worked. Starting right out of high school and on through retirement. Others came later in their careers, but likewise never left. That's the kind of jobs these were and are. For many, this was like a second family. In fact, with all the overtime some of them worked, many of the workers probably spent more time with their coworkers than with their families. That's why when the company went through hard times over the years, Local 870 and its members worked together with management to see Marcal through to another day. Time and again, Marcal was faced with threats of closure, and each time, somehow it survived. Through the hard work of both union and management, it survived. When I saw the building collapse and the sign fall last year, even I thought that Marcal had finally seen its last day, and my heart broke, thinking of all the people I knew who depended on these jobs to support their families. I'm so glad I was wrong, and that Marcal has defied the odds once again. Today we're here for the official restart of papermaking at Marcal, and on behalf of the Steelworkers International Union, I want to congratulate and commend the people on the management team, Rob, David, Ben, everyone, and all our hard-working steelworkers of Local 870, led by President Ray Hussein, who helped to make this possible. This is a great accomplishment. I'm so proud to be here and be a part of it, and I'm hopeful that this is just the beginning of what will be a full rebuilding of Marcal and a return to full operation, and of course, the famous Marcal sign. Thank you very much.
Representing our extraordinary first responders, fire and police, someone that really doesn't need any introduction for the Marcal team, our police chief, Chief Foligno.
Good morning, thank you. Governor Murphy just leaned in and said, "Hey, Chief, what a difference a year makes," and amen to that, Governor. Several minutes after the fire call came out, I was actually on my way home. I grew up, born and raised a block from here. I could see the plant from my home, and I still live there. So I stopped in and immediately knew that this wasn't your ordinary fire. 30-year career in town. I've been to this plant many times for fires, and never a question that it was going to be immediately handled and put under control. But that night, Mother Nature was fighting hard. And I'm proud to be part of the team of first responders, firefighters, EMS, and police that went toe-to-toe with Mother Nature that night. And she knows who we are because we stood up to her. And we didn't let that fire go beyond this footprint, and we saved some of the buildings on this footprint here. Thank you for all you guys did and for all the team that did. Speaking of the iconic sign, like I said, I was born and raised here. I still live a block away, and coming home from trips as a kid, driving down Route 80 and seeing the sign, knowing you're home. I'm home. We're home. There's Marcal, that warm and fuzzy sign. So thankfully, the plant is resurrected, and Rob and Dave and all the guys, John Palmieri, great working with you guys, and we're here for you, and thank you for all you do for the town. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. And representing our founder and the entire Marcos family, Peter Marcos.
Oh, boy. Around 5:15 p.m. on January the 30th, 2019, my wife and I were just leaving a parking garage in New York, and I got a call from a friend who lives in Elmwood Park, and he said firefighters were battling tremendous blazes at Marcal. My wife and I, she's a smart cookie, she turned on the police scanner app on her phone. And as we drove bumper-to-bumper traffic and commuter traffic, we groaned at the increasingly horrible reports we were hearing. When we finally got home, we switched on the TV news, and while we continued to listen to the scanner, we could hear all the hurried and urgent directives from the first responders, from our chiefs trying to direct and coordinate from out-of-town responders also. It had almost been 11 years since I had worked at Marcal, but still it was such an important part of my history. I still worked here at Marcal, in town, and I would pass the factory every day, many times a day, while still here in town. So it was really an all-consuming part of my heritage. And as a very young boy, I grew up at Marcal, accompanying my grandfather and my father on trips to the factory on Saturdays and Sundays. They check up on paper mill and converting activities. I'd pad along behind them. And later in the day, on those trips, they'd retreat to their office. They'd make phone calls. They'd work on mounds of paperwork. I'd play on the office floor in their office and wait for them to finally get done with their business. My father always had a saying, "In 2 shakes of a lamb's tail, Peter, I'll be done." That lamb's tail never shook. My sisters, my brothers, we all worked at Marcal during the summers, during our high school and our college years. And as adults, my brothers and I went to work here full-time with my father. I worked here for 25 years. Watching TV and listening to the police scanner that night, we were stunned as the tragedy unfolded. Through the night, the scanner accounts remind me of an emergency patient's vital signs as they fought against some type of terrible infection or maybe a terrible wound. In the beginning, the activity on the scanners was constant. And as more and more of the Market Street property was lost to fire, I felt the patient struggling to survive. Like tens of thousands of people watching TV that night, my wife and I also watched in horror as the famous rooftop sign collapsed. We were heartbroken. And while the ashes were carried by the strong, icy winds into neighborhood roofs and even onto our town hall, the really many dedicated Soundview employees and the firefighters were holding defensive positions along the railroad. I'm sure many of you remember that, trying to stop the spread of the fire from the River Road plant to the 10 p.m. buildings. Around 1:30 in the morning, I turned off the TV, but I continued to listen to the police scanner, laying in bed in the dark. As the night wore on and our firefighters held the fires advanced, the reports on the scanners finally began to slow a little bit. And gradually, there were longer and longer pauses on the scanner as our responders held the line. Finally, about, maybe 4:30 in the morning, there was mostly like an eerie, static silence on the scanners. Once in a while, a small report would happen, but it was almost silent. And I finally turned off the police scanner. It seemed like the patient was barely alive, as if it were in a deep coma. And in the following days, the news and the drone photography showed just how the facility had been hurt. Acres of charred rubble, twisted steel, burned out masonry stacks where the stairs used to be. The destruction and the surrounding roads were just, as you remember, just covered with ice and grimy black ash. It was really shocking, just pitiful. Whether you worked at Soundview, helped fight the fire, lived in town, or used that Marcal sign as a landmark on your way home, it was just a gut-wrenching sight. But now, over the course of a year, it's been so encouraging to see the patient is recovering. It's really fantastic. There's been a tremendous amount of progress. The rubble has been cleared away. Vital power connections have been made so that paper machine can finally produce again and product can be sent out to customers. Soundview has made a lot of progress, and that progress means that there's still jobs here, and it's still a vital part of this community's fabric. Many of you Soundview employees in the audience now have many more years of company employment than I ever experienced. I was here for 25 years. But you men and women are really the old timers now. 26, 30, some with 40 plus years. And as someone that has a lifetime of memories in this factory, an appreciation for the thousands of people that have worked here since 1939, when my grandfather established operations in this town, I want to join you in being able to say thank you for Soundview's tremendous progress. The talent and bravery of our first responders saved Soundview from complete devastation. But there's a resurrection and a hope because of the continued talents, the dedication, and the fortitude of Soundview's employees. So I thank you very much for being on this dais, and I wish you all great success in the future.
Thank you, Peter. Well, that concludes our program, and we need to conclude for a very good reason. 7 words that I'm really thrilled to say, which is, we need to get back to work. Thank you.